At my wedding, my mother raised a glass of champagne and said, "I'm getting married and I want you to vacate the house immediately." Everything went blurry in that moment. I canceled my honeymoon in Miami, called a lawyer, and filed a pre-trial eviction notice. You won't believe what happened next. This day was supposed to be the happiest of my life. My name is Victoria. Just Vicky to my loved ones. I'm 26. I was sitting in the banquet hall at my own wedding in June 2024 and thinking, everything is perfect. My dress fit like a dream. Jake? A real handsome man in a three-piece suit. The guests were having fun. The dance floor was alive. But first, a little backstory. 6 years ago, in 2018, my dad died. A heart attack. Right behind the wheel. I was 20 then. A third-year economics student at University of Colorado, Denver. My world collapsed in a single day. In his will, my father left me our house in the suburbs of Denver. A nice 2-story home. Worth about $580. Ling ling ling. The property was large. And there was a national forest nearby. Downtown Denver was only half an hour away. After his death, I had to quickly switch to online courses and find work. My mother never worked in her entire life. My father pampered her, paid all the bills, and was responsible for everything. And then suddenly I was left trying to manage the house, the utilities, the internet, the groceries, and support my mother. It was incredibly hard. Thankfully, my father had left a decent life insurance policy, $150. 000, and I had inheritance from selling some of his stocks. About $80. Ling ling ling. This gave me breathing room, but I knew it wouldn't last forever. I found work as a bookkeeper for a small accounting firm, making about $3, $200 a month. It wasn't much, but combined with careful budgeting of the inheritance money, I could cover the $2, $800 monthly mortgage payment, utilities around $300, property taxes, and basic living expenses for both of us. Still, I knew I needed to finish my degree to get better paying work. My mother moved into this house right after marrying my father in 1994 and lived there for almost 30 years. She made every corner her own, did renovations, and chose the furniture. But on paper, the house is mine. My grandfather built it in 1962, gave it to my dad in 1990, and my dad gave it to me in 2018. The deed clearly shows the transfer chain. Jake and I have been renting a small apartment for the past 6 months, preparing for the wedding while saving money. We agreed that after the wedding, we would move into my house. There's more than enough space for 3 of us. Jake is a wonderful man. He's a software engineer making $75, 000 a year, which would really help with the house expenses. And he has a wonderful family. His parents are straightforward and reasonable. And his sister Amy runs her Instagram account about lifestyle tips and recipes. And so our celebration arrived in June 2024. Laughter, toasts, dancing until we dropped. The food beyond all praise. Everything we dreamed of. And suddenly, Mom stood up to give a toast, holding a glass of champagne. She looked stunning at 56. She'd been getting her hair done that morning at the salon. "I want to congratulate my beloved daughter Vicky," she said, smiling for the whole room to see. "I love you so much. I'm so happy for you and Jake. You were made for each other." I listened to her, and my heart warmed. But my mother waved her hand, as if to say, "That's not all. Today I want to share something else with you. I decided that life doesn't end at 56. I met a wonderful man, Robert, and in a month we're getting married." The audience burst into applause. I smiled. Well done, Mom. Happiness suits her. But she raised her glass again and added a phrase that made the entire room freeze. You know, Mom continued with the same dazzling smile. The best gift Vicky and I can give each other is to finally start living separately. We both need our own space. I thought, well, now she'll announce she's moving in with Robert. It made sense. A new husband, a new life. But my mother paused dramatically and raised an eyebrow slightly. So I decided it would be right for Vicky to give up the house in favor of me. I've put so much effort and heart into it over 30 years. And young people can easily earn enough to buy their own place. The room was so silent, you could hear a pin drop. Even the DJ went quiet and turned off the music. Everyone stared at me. It felt like I'd been hit over the head with a hammer. I stood up on shaky legs. This is nonsense, I said loudly and clearly. The house is mine. Dad left it to me. What right do you have to my property? Mom blushed slightly. But the smile never left her face. She turned to the guests as if they were kindergartners. Well, technically, yes. The building is registered to Vicky. But I've lived there for almost 30 years. I moved in right after my wedding. Did all the renovations. Chose the furniture. Vicky was born and raised there. Under common law marriage principles and homestead rights. It's only fair to leave the house to me. Isn't it? She glanced around the room. Only 2 people applauded. Her sisters Teresa and Linda. No one else. The others sat with their noses in their plates. Never. I snapped. Dad left the house to me. It's mine. Then Mom finally lost it. She screamed at the whole room. Selfish. Just like her father. You'll never set foot in my house again. I'll change the locks today. And, slamming the door, she ran out of the room. The guests were shocked. My perfect wedding. Down the drain. Jake's parents immediately ran over. My mother-in-law hugged me and whispered, "Everything will be fine. Darling." My father-in-law shook his head. "Your mother certainly went too far." And Amy stood there with her phone, filming everything. I held out for the rest of the evening, smiling at the guests. I wouldn't let my mother ruin the holiday completely. But inside, everything was seething. Later, Jake's father explained to me why he thought my mother chose this moment. She waited until your wedding because she knew you'd be emotional and surrounded by family. She probably hoped the social pressure would make you agree. Classic manipulation tactic. On the morning after my wedding, June 6th, 2024, I woke up in our rented apartment with a headache. Jake was already awake, sitting next to me and stroking my back. "How are you? Like I've been run over by a truck." I muttered, "But I won't give up. This is my home. I'll fight to the end. I'm with you," Jake said confidently. "We'll get through this. And honey, with my salary combined with yours, we can definitely afford to fight this legally." We quickly got ready and headed to Mom's, or rather, my house. We pull up, and I can't believe my eyes. She really did it. The new locks glisten in the sun. The old key, naturally, doesn't fit. I knocked on the door. "Mom, open up. Let's talk normally." Her voice from behind the door was cold and alien. "Vicky, I took your things out to the garage. Take them and go." "Mom, this is absurd. Open up. Please. We have nothing to talk about. This is my home now. Go away." I was literally shaking with anger. Jake put his arm around my shoulders. "What are we going to do? The apartment is paid for until the end of the month," he said calmly. "We'll grab our things. Go. And then we'll sort it out." There wasn't much in the garage. The rented apartment already had the basics. A couple of boxes of old things. Photo albums. Books. We threw everything in the car and drove away. Jake's mother called that evening. How are you holding up? She really did change the locks. She won't even let me talk. Isayed. Move in with us. We have plenty of space. She said firmly. I found you a good lawyer. Andrew Peterson. He specializes in real estate and housing disputes. He'll help you defend your rights. I almost burst into tears with gratitude. It's so wonderful that at least my husband's family is supportive. A few weeks later, we moved in with Jake's parents. It was awkward. Of course. Living with them. But they turned out to be surprisingly warm people. My mother-in-law prepared a guest room. My father-in-law simply said, "Stay as long as you need." The worst part was that the honeymoon had to be canceled. Miami and the Florida beaches gave way to lawyers and court papers. 3 weeks after the wedding, Jake and I were supposed to be lounging on the beach with cocktails. But instead I found myself sitting in a law office on July 8th. 2024. A $580 000 house was certainly more important than a vacation. But it left a nasty taste in my mouth. Andrew Peterson was a gray-haired man of about 60. Clearly a professional in his field. This is more complex than a simple trespassing case, he said after examining the papers. Your mother lived there for 30 years and contributed to home improvements in Colorado. She might try to claim adverse possession or argue for some form of equitable interest. However, he continued, the deed is clear. The house legally belongs to you. Your father's will is unambiguous. We have a strong case. But we need to be prepared for her arguments. Let's start with a formal notice to quit. That's a legal demand for her to vacate. We'll give her 30 days as required by Colorado law. He drew up the document. And I served it to the house myself via certified mail and sheriff's service on July 15th. 2024. I was sickened to the point of nausea. But there was no other way out. A few days later, Peterson called. Your mother has hired a lawyer. Stephen Williams. I know him. He's already contacted me. They're planning to fight this. My heart sank. This is serious. Mom is ready to sue for my house. What's their strategy? I asked. Williams is arguing that your mother has equitable interest in the property due to her 30 years of residence and improvements. He's also claiming she has homestead rights as a long-term resident. It's a weak case legally, but it could drag out the process. I spent the next week gathering evidence with Peterson's help, proving my case was clearer than I expected. But we had to address her potential claims. For 6 years after my dad's death, all the bills were paid with my Chase account, utilities, internet, property taxes, insurance, every penny. My mother didn't contribute a single dollar after 2018. The property deed showed the clear chain. My grandfather built the house in 1962, transferred it to my father in 1990, who transferred it to me in 2018. Mom was never on any deed. Her homestead claim is weak. Peterson explained. Homestead rights typically apply to married couples or family members with ownership interest. She's neither married to the owner nor listed on any property documents. 2 weeks later, Williams made their first move. Your mother wants to claim 50% ownership based on her contributions over 30 years and common law marriage principles with the property. Peterson informed me on August 5th. No way. I snapped. She was married to my father. Not married to the house. And she hasn't contributed anything since he died. I thought you'd say that. Peterson chuckled. I've already prepared our response. A month later, Williams played what he thought was his trump card. My client recently got married. Her new husband has moved into the house. They're willing to sell the property and split the proceeds 50-50 with Victoria. I nearly fell off my chair. Now Mom wants to sell my house and take half the money, $290. Null. For herself. Over my dead body. I muttered through clenched teeth. The house is mine. I'm not selling it. The stress was overwhelming. I should have been enjoying newlywed life. But instead, I was in legal battles with my own mother. The next morning, August 20th, my phone was buzzing with Facebook notifications. My mom had posted, "My own daughter is kicking me out of the house where I've lived for 30 years. It's so unfair. I raised her here, made it a home. Now she's throwing me out on the street with no regard for everything I've done. Friends, help her see reason." But when I opened the comments, I was stunned. "Linda, are you serious?" her old friend wrote. "The house legally belongs to Vicky. You can't just take someone's inheritance. I can't believe you made this public drama at your own daughter's wedding." Someone else added, "Then I saw Amy's comment. She had posted the wedding video, the entire toast from beginning to end, with the caption, 'This is what really happened at Jake and Vicky's wedding. Judge for yourself who's being unreasonable here.'" After that, Mom was absolutely trashed in the comments. People wrote about how inappropriate it was to try to claim her daughter's inheritance and ruin her wedding celebration. The video went viral on Facebook by evening. Mom had deleted her page. I felt a little sorry for her. Online backlash is harsh. But she had started the public campaign. Meanwhile, the 30-day notice period was expiring on August 15th. 2024. Jake and I drove past the house several times to check if Mom was planning to move out. What we saw shocked us. Mom and Robert were repainting the exterior. My white house had become some garish yellow color I hated. But worst of all, Robert had demolished the garage my dad built with his own hands when I was little. They're destroying my property. I screamed at Peterson over the phone on August 18th. "Is this even allowed?" "Absolutely not." He replied firmly, "This is intentional destruction of property. In Colorado, this could be criminal mischief. Take photos immediately. Call an appraiser. And file a police report." Appraisers arrived and documented damages totaling $8. 500 garage démolition, $6. 000. Unauthorized exterior painting and dollars. Bobe. And damaged landscaping, $700. That same day, I filed a police report. When the notice period expired and my mother still hadn't vacated, Peterson filed our lawsuit on August 20th. 2024. The case moved through Douglas County District Court. On October 15th, 2024, the judge ruled in our favor, stating, while the defendant has resided in the property for an extended period, the legal ownership is clear and unambiguous. The plaintiff holds valid title through inheritance. The defendant has no legal claim to ownership or occupancy rights. Defendant must vacate within 30 days. Mom was given until November 15th, 2024, to leave. When that deadline passed and she still refused to move, we had to involve the sheriff's department. On November 20th, Peterson, Jake, Amy, and I went to the house with the sheriff's eviction team. Amy asked to film for her Instagram, and I reluctantly agreed. "Let there be a record," Jake said. As expected, Mom and Robert didn't answer the door initially. When the sheriff's deputies announced themselves, Mom finally opened up. She looked terrible, disheveled, and tearful. "Vicky, please don't do this," she sobbed. "Let's work something out. You had 4 months to work something out." I replied firmly. "The court gave you every chance." I started putting Mom's belongings in boxes, while Jake helped carry them outside. Amy live-streamed the whole thing. This is incredible. Guys. Amy narrated. Thousands are watching. The legal system working exactly as it should. Mom grabbed the door frame. "I'm not leaving my home." Then she clutched her chest dramatically. "My heart. You're killing me." "Vicky." I called 911 anyway. The EMTs arrived. Checked her vitals. Slightly elevated blood pressure, but normal range. Classic stress response. One EMT whispered to me, "We see this a lot in eviction situations." Amy kept filming and commented, "This is better than any reality show." But it's real-life consequences of trying to steal someone's inheritance. Finally, Mom and Robert called a moving company. Before leaving, my mother stopped in front of me. "You'll regret this. Victoria, I curse you. You are no longer my daughter. You are dead to me." Those words stung more than I expected. When they left on November 20th, 2024, my husband hugged me. "Are you okay? I'll be fine." He sighed. "Should we pursue the property damage claim?" Jake asked. "No." I shook my head. "Let's just move on with our lives. The house is ours now." That evening, we officially moved into my house. It felt strange being there without my mother after so many years. But the house was finally mine again. I blocked her number, removed her from social media, and set up email filters. After everything she'd done, I was done. 2 weeks later, my mother's sister Teresa called. "Vicky, your mother is struggling to pay rent? Don't you feel any guilt, Aunt Teresa?" I replied calmly. "Mom should have thought about housing before trying to steal my house. She's 56 and able-bodied. She can work." I hung up and blocked that number too. 2 years passed, 2025 and 2026. Jake and I renovated the house completely. We repainted every room, updated all the plumbing, and remodeled the kitchen with white cabinets and quartz countertops. Jake built a new garage, bigger than before. We planted vegetable gardens where Mom's flower beds used to be. In March 2026, I found out I was pregnant. Jake and I had been trying for 6 months. When 2 pink lines appeared on the test, I burst into happy tears. Jake spun me around our renovated kitchen. "We're going to be parents." We immediately called his parents, who were overjoyed. That evening, they came over with champagne for Jake and sparkling cider for me. "This baby is so lucky to grow up in such a beautiful home," my mother-in-law said, admiring our renovations. "You two have really transformed this place." In June 2026, when I was 3 months pregnant, something unexpected happened. I found an email from a new Gmail account. "My dear Vicky, I heard through mutual friends that you and Jake are expecting. Congratulations, I think it's time we put the past behind us. I'll be a grandmother. That means everything to me." The email continued, "I made mistakes, but emotions were high. Now that you'll be a mother, you'll understand. Family is everything. I want to help raise the baby. I have so much experience and love to give. Let's start fresh. I broke up with Robert. It didn't work out. Don't deprive me of my grandchild." I stared at the screen for a long time. Part of me wondered if she'd really changed. But then I remembered everything: the wedding scandal, trying to steal my inheritance, the court battles, the destroyed garage, her final curse telling me I was dead to her. Jake found me at the computer. "What's wrong?" I showed him the email. His jaw tightened as he read. "What do you think I asked?" "Honey, I'll support whatever you decide. But remember what she put us through. Do you think a baby will really change her? She didn't even apologize. Specifically just said emotions were high. That's not taking responsibility. And notice," Jake continued, "she mentioned Robert casually. I bet that marriage failed. So now she's alone and wants back in." The more I thought about it, the more I realized Mom hadn't actually changed. She was using my pregnancy as manipulation. Did I want my child growing up around someone so toxic? Someone who might badmouth me and Jake? Or even call Child Protective Services if she didn't like our parenting? No. She made her choice in November 2024 when she said I was dead to her. I deleted the email, blocked the address, and set up automatic filters. Over the following months, she tried reaching out a few more times. Cards I threw away. Calls from unknown numbers I didn't answer. Amy told me Mom even messaged her on Instagram. Amy blocked her immediately. I'm now 7 months pregnant, January 2027. Jake and I have finished the nursery in soft sage green. Sometimes I wonder if I'll regret not giving Mom another chance. But when I remember everything she did, my doubts disappear. I made the right choice. My child will grow up in a loving, peaceful home, surrounded by people who truly care, not manipulators. Jake's parents have become wonderful grandparents-to-be. My mother-in-law has knitted enough baby clothes for twins, and my father-in-law crafted a beautiful wooden rocking horse. Our baby will have real grandparents' love, genuine, healthy, and unconditional. In March 2027, our son Alex was born. When they placed him in my arms, all the struggles felt worth it. Jake held us both, tears in his eyes. Thank you for giving me everything, he whispered. The house filled with new sounds, gentle cries, and peaceful silence that happiness brings. My in-laws visited daily, helping with everything. They became the family support system we needed. Sometimes, holding Alex, I still think about my mother. I wish things could have been different, but I know I chose correctly. My son will grow up in a home built on love and trust, not manipulation and chaos. And that's the greatest gift I could give him. Story 2. I blink frequently as I look at my laptop screen, hoping that the numbers would miraculously rearrange themselves. No, they don't. My whole education fund should have $53,000 left over. My safety net? With an insulting $0. My future gives me a sneer in return. My ears drum with my heartbeat. I wonder whether there's a technological fault as my fingers linger over the keyboard and a cold perspiration appears on my brow. I reload the page. The 0 is still there? No. I murmur to my solitary flat in Boston. No. 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 The UTMA account that my father Gregory has been managing since I was a youngster, the one that my grandparents set up when I was born, and the one that was meant to see me through my last year of architecture school at Boston University, is empty. I pick up my phone from the coffee table with shaking hands. The city is illuminated by beautiful spring sunlight outside my window, which seems like a terrible joke all of a sudden. I enter the well-known Columbus area code. My father's number that I've known since I was a little kid. Just 1 ring. 2 rings. Melanie. With its typical assurance. His voice reverberates through the speaker. My college girl. How are you? I force myself to swallow, fighting to get the words out of my throat. Dad, I am now examining my UTMA account. It's deserted. A pause. Just long enough for him to clarify that this is nothing new. Oh, that. His voice changes to something flippant, dismissive, rather than to guilt or regret. Yes, I had to rearrange a few things. For a stock opportunity, I just borrowed it. Excellent timing, in fact. The markets are quite favorable for investing. The room slants a little. I stabilize myself by holding onto the edge of my desk. Did you take out a $53,000 loan without notifying me? It's not a huge thing. Honey, listen, you'll figure it out since you're intelligent. Get one of those modeling gigs they keep giving you and take a semester off. This is nothing to be concerned about. Something inside me burns despite the shock at the contempt in his words. I say in a voice that is unrecognizable even to me, that the money was for my studies. It was put up especially for college by Grandma and Grandpa. You cannot just accept it. He sighs. Melanie. As if I'm a kid incapable of fundamental maths. Family supports family. We will all gain from this wonderful chance. When I shut my eyes, I am suddenly able to clearly picture our little colonial house in Columbus, which my father claimed responsibility for preserving, and the neighborhood barbecues where he held court. My mother, Helen, who worked herself to the bone as a cashier at Robertson's Grocery and a night waitress at Finley's Diner, was really the one who maintained our decent facade. Gregory Wilson served as the PTA treasurer, a dedicated family guy, and a community leader. The part, it was only ever a part. I need that money back. Hey Dad, right now, in 3 weeks, my tuition is due. His patience plainly growing thin. He snaps. Don't be so dramatic. You're 24. It's time to stop relying on handouts and start standing on your own 2 feet. I sound empty when I chuckle. Handouts. I had that money. My money. Legally. I have a meeting. You see. Later. We will discuss. The cue stops working. My hand is shaking so badly now that I almost drop my phone when I look at it in shock. I call him back after taking 3 long breaths, with obvious displeasure. He answers on the 4th ring. Melania. What? You must return the money. Today? Now. With my fury building, my voice sounds louder. His tone hardens as he responds. Family is more important than money. In any case, perhaps it's time for you to stop squandering your time on education. You may earn a living as a model thanks to your attractive appearance, instead of accruing additional student loan debt. To make use of what God has given you. The idea is a smack in the face. Dean's List accomplishments. 4 years of architecture school, and a portfolio that has already pleased 2 companies, are all boiled down to how I would seem in front of a camera, keeping my emotions in control. I assure him, I'm not quitting school, and my appearance isn't taking the place of my intelligence. I want my money returned. I'm going to end this call now. He adds icily, when you have a clearer idea of what matters, give me a call. Once again, the queue becomes quiet. I don't call back this time. Rather, I launch my banking app and ask for all of the previous year's statements. They load on my screen in a matter of minutes. And the methodical treachery becomes clear. Withdrawal. January 3. R. 000 500美元 Withdrawal. January 17. 3美元 000 Withdrawal. February 2. R. 000 500美元 The pattern consists of planned, intentional withdrawals spread out across 8 weeks that are tiny enough to prevent warnings. The account was totally depleted by the last withdrawal, which was $3. 000 on March 28. My investigation leads me to further in-depth financial websites that describe UTMA accounts. At age 21, I should have had full discretion over the standard transfers to Minors Act funds. He has had unauthorized access to the account for 3 years, telling me that his name must be on it for tax considerations. As I see the extent of his deceit, the space feels abruptly smaller. The walls closing in, the trust between us, which was already brittle due to years of unfulfilled promises, not only cracks, but absolutely shatters, since the guy who had been teaching me about integrity and responsibility since I was a little kid had been methodically taking from me. I dab at a single tear and turn on my laptop once again. This treachery is unacceptable. No more. I have no safety net whatsoever. An internship interview the week after, and final examinations in 2 weeks. But I have the facts, written down in black and white, and a resolve that suddenly burns hotter than any fear, things my father obviously doesn't have. Have you ever found out that someone you had total faith in was lying to you? What was your body's reaction at that time? The bus ride from Boston to Columbus on NES Day takes around 15 hours. The most of time is spent gazing out a smeared window onto small-town countryside, mentally practicing talks that I doubt will ever take place. How would you respond if your father had stolen your future, a little after 6 o'clock in the evening? I reach the Greyhound station. I have nobody waiting for me. I wanted my first few hours back in Columbus to be all mine, so I kept my arrival time a secret from them. In part, due to the unpredictability of bus timetables, I stroll the 12 streets to our little colonial in Bexley, feeling the usual weight of Ohio summer heat. Every step seems more burdensome than the previous. Mom sent me a text, and my phone buzzes. 7 o'clock for dinner. Your preferred lasagna. In some way, the home seems smaller. Years of severe Midwestern weather caused the blue shutters to fade. I stop at the end of our concrete sidewalk to look at the porcelain bird bath my mother purchased 10 years ago at a yard sale, and the clipped bushes. The epitome of respectability among the middle class. What a falsehood. In the driveway, Dad's silver Buick shines in the early evening light. This weekend, and he must have washed it, maintaining appearances at all times. Before I can use my key, Mom answers the door and hugs me tightly. Her scent, a combination of tomato sauce and the lavender lotion she's worn since I was a child. My college girl is there. Her eyes are weary, but her grin is sincere. I'm exhausted. I am aware that she will be going to Finley's Diner by 9 o'clock tonight after finishing her morning shift at Robertson's. In the dining room, your father is arranging the table. I make an effort to grin. Fantastic. Dad becomes taller when I walk in. I unwillingly go into his arms, which are extended for an embrace. Look at you, Melania. Boston's transformed you into a very beautiful woman. I swiftly back off. Dad, Christmas was just a semester ago. You look different. However, he points to the table, where 3 dishes are waiting for them. With supper, your mother has surpassed herself. First, I keep a close eye on him, looking for indications of shame or remorse. None exist. Instead, as Dad has done, ever since I was old enough to sit at the adult table, he pulls out my chair with a flourish, the deed of the ideal parent. Mom inquires about my internship interview and exams over supper. As I watch, Dad cut his lasagna into exact squares and periodically wipe his lips with a serviette. I respond automatically. He still has the same calm, assured appearance. The neighborhood barbecue host, PTA, treasurer, and esteemed office administrator. Halfway through dinner, he makes the spontaneous announcement that financial responsibility is what separates successful people from failures. I was just telling your mom that you need to be more cautious with your money because of inflation right now. In my mouth, the lasagna turns to ash. I cautiously put down my fork. Is that correct? I get by. Of course, I've been reading about good ways to invest. Knowing when to take advantage of chances is crucial. Too tired to see the irony. Mom nods. I test blood after biting my tongue. Det pats after supper. Saying he has a business meeting, despite my objections that she should take a break before her next duty. Mom fills the dishwasher. I'll simply spend an hour lying down with her, shoulders bowed with exhaustion. She makes a commitment. If you want dessert later, there's pie in the refrigerator. I wait for 15 minutes after she goes upstairs, while I listen to the house calm down around me. I then stealthily make my way to Dad's office, which is off the living room. There is no lock on the door. Why would it be? Dad's word has always been law in our household. His personal space is unquestionably respected. So far, his sandalwood aftershave fills the room. On his desk, next to a mug that says, "World's Greatest Dad," is a folded Columbus Dispatch. I begin by searching the desk drawers, but all I find are outdated checkbooks and office supplies, tax returns, warranty details, and insurance policies are all carefully arranged in the filing cabinet. When I see his blue jacket hanging on the back of the door, I start to feel like I've made a mistake. As I reach inside the pockets, my fingers tremble a little. Car keys, a half roll of mints, and the right pocket, several slips, folded paper. In the left pocket, I flatten them on the tabletop, my heart thumping. Receipts for River West Casino's casino chips. They are all dated within the last month and are for $500. 1美元, 000, and $2, 500, respectively. I feel the truth as if it were a bodily blow. My college money was not invested in equities by him. He lost it when he bet. Spreading paperwork in front of me, I settle into his desk chair. I turn to his computer with renewed resolve. It takes 3 attempts to get the password. I'm in after their anniversary. My birthday. And Mom's birth date. His email is still logged in even if his browser history has been deleted. When I search for River West, I come across dozens of offers, VIP invites, and special events that date back many months. As I print a few emails, the printer in the corner comes to life. After that, I locate his credit card statement in the Finances Personal folder. I scan the transactions and my hands go chilly. $300 was taken out of an ATM at River West Casino. River West Casino. $500 ATM withdrawal. River West Casino. $750 ATM withdrawal. Page after page is covered with the pattern. These two are printed by myself. I discover a plastic card with gold, writing in his wallet, stashed away in a secret pocket under his driver's license. Diamond Club membership is the highest level of River West Casino's loyalty program. I start moving frantically as I hear footsteps on the stairs. With the exception of the printed papers, which I fold and put in my pocket, I put everything back where I found it. Mom walks in the doorway just as I've closed the browser window. She holds out a hot mug and adds, "I thought you might like some tea." Her knuckles are cracked, and her hands are crimson. For practical reasons, the nails were trimmed short. Thanks. Mama. Honest hands. Working hands. With anger and guilt fighting inside of me. I grab the mug. "Is everything all right? You haven't spoken much tonight." I fake a grin since I'm exhausted from the journey. She nods, accepting this straightforward answer since she never looks for dishonesty from anybody she trusts. I should begin preparing for my shift. Before she can go, the front door opens, and the sound of her father's voice fills the home. "Is there any lasagna left?" "Helen Gregory." She shouts back from the refrigerator. A few seconds later, he emerges in the doorway, pausing as he sees me at his desk. His eyes widen a little, then return to their usual cheerful look. In my workplace, studying, isn't this room's lighting better than the living room's? I just checked my email. I lie while closely observing his face. His gaze darts between the desktop and the computer screen. "Have you found all you require?" "Yes." In fact, I look him in the eye. What I was searching for was right here. His countenance changes in a subtle way that may go unnoticed by someone who isn't as determined as I am. Weary. Calculating. Excellent to hear. He adds in a deliberately informal tone. He looks at his mother. "Are you going to work soon? Do you want the vehicle warmed up? I have time." She says, "I just had a conversation with Melanie." Dad's cell buzzes. After looking at it, he turns back to face us. I must accept this. Work-related items. He shuts the door behind him and enters the hallway. Mom lets out a sigh. That one is always working. How he maintains the pace is beyond me. To avoid telling her precisely how he spends his working hours, I take a sip of tea. Not quite yet. Not till I'm certain. I take out my phone and text Aunt Alicia as she heads out to change for her shift. We must speak. Legal query. Can you make a video call at 2 tomorrow? She responds right away. Naturally. Is everything all right? The weight of those casino receipts burning in my pocket? I gaze at the fractured ceiling of the bedroom I grew up in. No. I reply with a text. However, it will be later that evening. Dad knocks on my door as I'm reading in bed. He leans his arms over the frame and pushes it open without waiting for a response. You were in my office earlier. I observed. He looks through my belongings and says in a low voice, I put down my book. I located the receipts from the casino. His face briefly lights up with rage before he gathers his thoughts. I didn't own them. I had these in reserve for a colleague. Really, in the membership card for Diamond Club, the withdrawals from the ATM, the emails from VIPs for the sake of a colleague, you had no right to search my private belongings. Now on the defense. He snaps. My business is what I do with my money. I respond, my voice trembling with anger. It wasn't your money. Grandma and Grandpa established my education fund, which you depleted due to your gambling addiction. Stay quiet. He hisses. Looking out into the corridor, your outrageous charges don't need to be heard by your mother. Crazy charges, Dad. I have evidence. Copies of everything were printed. His eyes flash with something deadly. Milani, you're doing something wrong. No. I say, now speaking steadily, I made the error of entrusting you with my future. After giving me a long look, he walks out silently, slamming the door shut behind him. I wait for his footsteps to stop before taking out my phone once again. I email Aunt Alicia to let her know that we need to rearrange our plans and have a 3-way conversation with Mom. I also ask that you bring all of your knowledge regarding UTMA rules. I stay up all night sorting the material into a coherent chronology. The intentional lie, the systematic steal, and the treachery. My father's years of deceit will finally be exposed when the 3 of us speak tomorrow. Would you attempt to maintain family harmony or confront a family member who has stolen from you? For you, what would be at risk? 2 days later, piles of papers were harshly shadowed by Aunt Alicia's law office's fluorescent lights. Her once tidy desk had become command center, with tabs indicating important pages in financial documents and legal pads covered with notes. Her fingers swept over the keyboard, tapping hard to punctuate each syllable. As I walked in, carrying 2 coffee cups, she mumbled, the custodial breach is clear-cut, without raising her gaze. Gregory's actions were against the law in addition to being immoral. She had been drinking black coffee with 1 sugar since law school, so I placed it next to her keyboard. The antiseptic workplace, air mixed with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee. Columbus stretched gray and cloudy through the glass behind her. Much like I felt. Will it endure with a voice more steady than the quivering cup in my palm? I asked. Dad has always been adept at avoiding conflict by talking his way out of it. When Alicia did glance up, her eyes narrowed determinedly. Much like my mother's, honey, charm doesn't work in court documents. When humans refuse to speak the truth, numbers do. She turned her screen so I could see a professional letter in crisp, chilly English. The phrases breach of fiduciary duty and demand for immediate restitution sprang off the page. This is being sent via certified mail today. She gave a copy to me. We've gone beyond it. There will be no more conversations or opportunities. I ran my finger over the paper's edge and nodded. How is Mom's relationship with her lawyer going? The state's top divorce attorney is Linda. 20 years worth of financial documents were provided by your mother. Alicia's face lit up with a little angry grin. Despite her years of silence, Helen Wilson preserved both tangible and symbolic receipts. Our battle room was created in Alicia's kitchen that night. 3 cups of tea, bank statements, and legal paperwork now sat on the wood table, where I'd sat over many Christmas feasts. After a day without serving anybody, Mom's hands were finally still as she sat across from me in a plain shirt instead of her waitress uniform. "These were in the attic," Mom replied as she pushed a shoebox in my direction. "Fading bank statements from before I was born were in there. Your father has a history of gambling. When we had you, I assumed he had stopped. The documents were distributed chronologically by Aunt Alicia. This creates a pattern. It matters. It matters." I saw my mother's face, where the resignation was gradually solidifying into what may have been resolve, or, after years of repression, fury is finally let to erupt. For 20 years, I worked double shifts. I thought I was helping build something. Our home. Your education. Mom remarked gently. She didn't continue, but her voice caught as he was. Alicia covered Mom's hand with hers as she reached across the table. Being family does not absolve one from responsibility. Mom straightened her shoulders and nodded. No, it doesn't. After managing Midwest Insurance Associates for 15 years, Dad received Aunt Alicia's letter 2 days later. His response reached my voicemail in a matter of hours, even though I was not there to see his face. "This is absurd. Melania." He didn't seem confident as usual. His voice sounded forced. "You are exaggerating a little issue. Give me a call. This legal bullshit has to be discussed." I didn't return the call. That evening, the next communication arrived. "Your father is this. I'm a better parent than this. I merely took out the loan to support our family. I have always done everything for this family. Give me a call." At midnight, the third communication came in. His speech was harsh and slurred. "Do you believe you can intimidate me? With solicitors. Your father is me. Your nappies were changed by me. I took you to school in my car. When you could have done anything useful, I backed your absurd architectural fantasies. How do you pay me back? By making me seem foolish." The next morning, I played the messages for Mom and Alicia. Mom's face became white, then red with rage. "Those were not absurd dreams," she remarked. "Before you could write your own name, as you were sketching structures." My phone rang with Cousin Margot's number that afternoon. Without introducing herself, she added, "Your dad called us. He claims that because of a miscommunication on college funding, you are attempting to destroy him. You told him what?" My heart quickened as I asked. "That he ought to reimburse you for what he stole." Margot's tone became stern. "Then he accused you of being ungrateful and too emotional. That you've been his challenging kid all along." I pushed the record button on my phone at that point. My father's frantic falsehoods, each more complex than the previous, were recorded on the tape she delivered. How I had accepted the loan, how I was blaming him after spending the money myself, how my mother was untrustworthy due to her mental health issues. After working at Finley's Diner that evening, Mom gave me a call. Her voice had an odd, empty, but nonetheless powerful quality, as she was presenting their meatloaf special to table 12. She stated, "I broke down tonight. I'm very sorry." "Mom, don't be." Her voice had altered in some way. I was seated in the break room by Brenda from the kitchen, followed by Loretta and Mike from the grill. I saw Mom surrounded by the support of the restaurant staff, the folks who had seen me grow up on trips to her place of employment. All these years, they have seen it. Mom went on. I felt really exhausted. How your father wanted me to attend all of his functions, but never attended any of mine at work. How he would stop by and take money out of my tips. Over the phone, I heard a faint tinkling sound. "What was that?" I inquired. "My wedding band. I just removed it." Her voice was tinged with the faintest trace of surprise. "After 26 years, it disappears as if it never was." Threatening to cry, I clasped my palm to my lips. "At the moment, I'm cleaning tables," she continued matter-of-factly. "With bare hands, Do you know how strange that feels? Like I've been wearing invisible gloves all these years? The next morning, Dad found himself locked out of the family home. Mom had changed the locks overnight with help from Mike from the diner. His key cards to their joint accounts no longer worked. Alicia had made sure of that as soon as the demand letter went out. He's been calling neighbors. Mom told me during our morning check-in, telling them, I'm having a breakdown, that you've turned against him. Does anyone believe him? Martha next door told him she'd seen his car at Riverwest Casino enough times to know who was having problems. Mom's laugh held no humor. People aren't as blind as we think. Dad's carefully constructed image was crumbling. The PTA treasurer who'd given stern lectures about fiscal responsibility. The neighborhood barbecue host who'd complained about those people who can't manage money. The father who'd taught me to balance a checkbook at 12. All while systematically stealing from his own daughter's future. You're going back to Boston tomorrow, Aunt Alicia told me that evening, passing me a printout of my flight confirmation. I'll handle things here, but the legal proceedings will take months. You need to focus on finishing your degree. Her expression softened slightly. That's the best revenge. You know, succeeding despite him. I looked at the flight information, then at my mother, sitting quietly at the kitchen table, her bare ring finger occasionally touched by her opposite hand. As if confirming its freedom, I can't afford to finish without that money. I said, You'll get it back. Alicia said, the same iron certainty in her voice that had won her countless cases. Every penny, plus interest. I've already filed the emergency injunction. Mom looked up. And I'm selling the dining room set? Your father insisted we couldn't live without one. It should cover your books for next semester. Mom looked up the dining room. I stared at these two women. Their faces so similar yet marked by different lives. One who'd fought openly. One who'd endured quietly. Both now refusing to bend. Something unfamiliar unfurled in my chest. Not just determination. I'd always had that. This was bigger. The certainty that came from knowing I wasn't fighting alone. Okay, I said, straightening my shoulders. I'll finish my degree. And Dad will face consequences for once in his life. Mom nodded. A single tear tracking down her cheek. Some things matter more than peace. Honey, some fights are worth having. Outside, Columbus prepared for evening. Streetlights flickering to life one by one. Tomorrow I'd be back in Boston. Getting back to models and blueprints and the future I refused to surrender. Behind me would be these women. My real foundation. Stronger than any architecture I'd ever design. A month later, the Ohio courthouse looms before me. All sandstone and solemnity. My fingers tremble slightly as I smooth my charcoal pencil skirt. Professional armor against the betrayal awaiting inside. Aunt Alicia walks beside me. Briefcase swinging with purposeful rhythm. In her heels, clicking a confident beat against the marble steps. Ready, she asks. Her hand warm on my shoulder. I nod, not trusting my voice. Through the heavy wooden doors. Past security. Down a corridor that smells of furniture. Polish, and faded dreams. I spot him immediately. Dad sits with his attorney. Head bent in conversation. He wears his Sunday suit. The one reserved for impressing people and his practiced expression of concerned fatherhood. The mask I once believed without question. Our eyes lock across the room. His flash with momentary panic before settling into righteous indignation. All rise. The bailiff calls, and we stand as Judge Harriman enters. Her silver hair cut in a practical bob. Reading glasses perched on her nose. Wilson versus Wilson. She announces, scanning the documents before her. Custodial account dispute. Dad's attorney speaks first. Mr. Bentley, silver-haired and silver-tongued, rises with theatrical gravity. Your Honor, this is merely a family misunderstanding. He begins, voice dripping with reasonableness. My client was acting in what he believed to be the family's best interest during a temporary financial challenge. I swallow hard, tasting bitterness. The word temporary hangs in the air like poison. Aunt Alicia stands, her voice cool and precise. Your Honor, this was no misunderstanding. We have evidence of systematic withdrawal over an 8-week period, totaling exactly $53. 000. This represents clear breach of fiduciary duty under the Uniform Transfers to Minors Act. She methodically presents our documentation, bank statements, text messages, recorded phone conversations where Dad admits taking the money. With each piece of evidence, Judge Harriman's expression hardens. Mr. Wilson, she finally says, peering over her glasses at my father. These withdrawals appear deliberate and calculated. What explanation do you offer the court? Dad rises, straightening his tie. The gesture's so familiar, it makes my chest ache, despite everything. Your Honor, I've always put family first. He begins, voice steady with practice, sincerity. This money was going to be invested for Milani's future, at a better return than just sitting in an account. And where are these investments now? Mr. Wilson, Judge Harriman asks. Dad shifts his weight. There were some unexpected market fluctuations. The judge's eyebrow arches. I see. An hour later, we sit in the settlement conference room. A court mediator presides over our small group, Dad and his attorney on one side, Aunt Alicia and me on the other. No friendly family dinner this. I can offer $15. 000 now. Dad says, leaning forward. The rest in installments over 5 years. Aunt Alicia doesn't even glance at me before responding. Full repayment plus 5% interest. Non-negotiable. Dad's face flushes. That's unreasonable. I don't have that kind of money. Then, wage garnishment is the alternative. The mediator explains, her tone neutral but firm. Federal law permits garnishment of up to 25% of disposable earnings until the debt is satisfied. You'll ruin me financially, Dad says, looking directly at me for the first time. His eyes hold genuine fear. The words rise from somewhere deep inside me. Quiet but unwavering. Like you tried to ruin my future, he flinches as if I'd slapped him. Later that afternoon, we attend the preliminary hearing for Mom's divorce case. Held in the same courthouse but a different courtroom. Dad's face has lost its confident glow, replaced by a grayish pallor as Mom's attorney presents evidence of mortgage fraud and credit cards opened in her name without consent. Mrs. Wilson worked 2 jobs, believing her income was supporting her daughter's education. The attorney states, instead, Mr. Wilson was systematically diverting funds to gambling activities while creating unauthorized debt in his wife's name. Dad's disparity response. Helen knew everything. Falls flat, as Mom's attorney presents years of falsified financial statements. The judge doesn't bother hiding his disgust. This court finds clear evidence of financial misconduct. Mom sits 3 seats away from me, her hands folded neatly in her lap. When the judge announces his finding, her shoulders drop slightly, as if releasing a burden carried too long. Back in the first courtroom, Judge Harriman approves our settlement terms with brisk efficiency. Full repayment of $53. 000 plus 5% interest. Direct wage assignment from Dad's paycheck. Federal garnishment of 25% of his disposable income until the debt is paid. The court finds the defendant in clear breach of fiduciary duty. She states, this settlement represents the minimum consequence for such violation of trust. I watch Dad's face as reality crashes through his carefully constructed defenses. His mouth opens slightly, eyes widening with genuine shock. He truly believed he would escape consequences, that his charm would save him, as it always had before. Outside on the courthouse steps, spring sunshine warms my face, but brings new joy. I've won, but victory tastes hollow. Aunt Alicia squeezes my hand. You did the right thing, she says quietly. I nod, watching Dad emerge from the building, shoulders hunched, attorney whispering urgently beside him. He looks older suddenly, diminished. I know, I reply, turning away, but doing the right thing still hurts. What price would you put on trust and honesty in your family? Is there a dollar amount that's too small to fight for when principles are at stake? 4 crimson tickets lie flat on my kitchen table, each representing a seat at tomorrow's Boston University Architecture School graduation. I run my finger along the embossed university seal, feeling the weight of my decision with each pass. 4 tickets. I whisper to my empty apartment. The late afternoon sun filters through my blinds, casting stripes across the neatly arranged rectangles. I've already decided who deserves to witness this moment. I fought so hard to reach Mom, Aunt Alicia, and my 2 closest friends, Sophia and Trevor. Not Gregory Wilson. Not the man who almost destroyed this future. My phone buzzes with an incoming text. Dad's name appears on the screen. His 5th message today. When should I book my flight? Need to request time off work. The casual presumption in his words ignites a familiar heat in my chest. I take a deep breath and type my response. I only have 4 tickets. I've allocated them to Mom, Aunt Alicia, Sophia, and Trevor. I won't be able to accommodate you at the ceremony. His response comes almost instantly. This is ridiculous. I'm your father. Of course I'll be there. I place my phone screen down on the table, my hand trembling slightly. 6 months since the court order. 6 months of wage garnishment payments trickling into my account. 6 months of his alternating guilt trips and demands for gratitude because he's making things right. My phone lights up again with multiple messages. You wouldn't even have a graduation without me. I worked for years to support your education. What will people think when your father isn't there? The last one almost makes me laugh. What would people think if they knew the truth, that he gambled away my college fund, that a court had to force him to repay what he stole? I silence my phone and return to packing my graduation cap and gown. The morning of graduation dawns bright and clear. Boston sparkles beneath an impossibly blue May sky, as Mom and Aunt Alicia arrive at my apartment with coffee and pastries. Oh, honey. Look at you, Mom says, her eyes already welling with tears. She looks different now. Lighter somehow, despite the new wrinkles around her eyes. The divorce proceedings finished last month, and freedom suits her. Stop it. Helen, you'll make your makeup run before we even get to the ceremony, Aunt Alicia says. But her voice is gentle. She hands me a garment bag. Your robe might wrinkle if you carry it. Let me hang this up for you. In the hotel room, Mom sits me down at the vanity mirror. From her purse, she removes a small velvet box. This was your grandmother's, she says, opening it to reveal a delicate silver pendant shaped like an architect's compass. She wore it when she worked as a draftsman in the 60 seconds. Not many women did that work back then. I touched the pendant gently. I didn't know she was in architecture. She wasn't allowed to advance. Mom says, clasping it around my neck, but she would be so proud of where you've gone with your talent. The pendant rests cool against my skin as tears threaten. I stand and hug her tightly. Thank you for everything, I whisper against her hair, and breathing in her familiar scent of grocery store hand lotion and coffee. You did this yourself, she says firmly. Despite everything, a knock at the door announces Sophia and Trevor, arms loaded with flowers, and a handmade banner that reads, Melania Wilson, architecte extraordinaire. The procession of graduates feels surreal. Hundreds of us, in identical robes and mortarboards. marching across the quad toward the ceremony pavilion. Parents and friends line the walkways, snapping photos and waving. I scan the crowd, spotting Mom, Aunt Alicia, Sophia, and Trevor in their designated seats, their faces beaming with genuine pride. Then I see him. Gregory Wilson stands at the entrance to the seating area, his face tense with determination. He wears a new suit, probably bought for the occasion, and holds a bouquet of roses so large it looks absurd in his hands. My step falters momentarily, but the procession keeps moving, carrying me forward. I watch in horror as he pushes toward the student seating section. Ignoring the usher asking to see his ticket, "That's my daughter," he announces loudly, pointing toward me. "Melania Wilson. She only made it because of my sacrifices." Heads turn. Whispers ripple through the crowd. My face burns with embarrassment as I continue the procession, unable to stop or hide. "Sir, you need a ticket," I hear the usher saying firmly. "I'm her father." Gregory's voice rises above the murmur of the crowd. "I deserve to be here. I paid for all this." From my position in line, I see Aunt Alicia rise from her seat, her attorney's poise evident even from this distance. She intercepts Gregory in the aisle with remarkable speed. "You don't have a ticket," she says, her voice calm but carrying clearly. "You don't belong here. Get out of my way." "Alicia," Gregory hisses, loud enough for nearby rows to hear. I deserve the front row as her proud father. "No!" Aunt Alicia stands firm. "You were expressly not invited." Two security officers approach, their manner professional, but uncompromising. "Sir," the taller one says, "we need to see your ticket, or we'll have to ask you to leave." "This is ridiculous." Gregory's voice rises further, drawing more attention. "That's my daughter. I'm entitled to see her graduate." "Sir," the officer repeats, "leave now, or we'll escort you out." "Do you know who I am?" Gregory demands, his face reddening. "I'm Gregory Wilson. I've sacrificed everything for that girl. Without me, she wouldn't even be here." The security officers exchange a glance. Then each takes one of Gregory's arms. "No. This is outrageous." He struggles against their grip. "Melania, tell them who I am. Tell them I'm your father." I stand frozen in line, mortified, as hundreds of eyes swing between the commotion and me. My classmates shuffle uncomfortably. One friend squeezes my elbow in silent support. Security begins physically moving Gregory toward the exit. He continues shouting about his rights as a parent, his voice growing more desperate with each step. "You can't do this to me. I'm her father. I've done everything for her." As they finally remove him from the pavilion, an unexpected sensation washes over me. Not the crushing embarrassment I anticipated, but something lighter. Relief. The truth of our relationship laid bare for all to witness. No more pretense. No more masks. I catch my mother's eye across the crowd. Her face shows concern. But when I give her a small nod, she visibly relaxes. Aunt Alicia returns to her seat, smoothing her skirt with steady hands that betray no tremor of distress. The ceremony continues. When they call my name, I walk across the stage with my head high, accepting my diploma as cheers erupt from my 4 true supporters. For the first time, I realize that family isn't defined by obligation or blood. It's built through honesty, respect, and showing up when it matters. The 4 people who earned those tickets understand that, and in this moment of triumph, my name echoing across the loudspeakers, my hard-earned degree in hand, I finally understand it too. Have you ever had to establish a boundary with a loved one who betrayed you? How did it feel in that moment? A month later, the candlelight flickers across the faces of my dinner companions at Luciano's. one of Boston's hidden culinary gems. My mother Helen's tired eyes now sparkle with newfound vitality. Aunt Alicia raises her glass of Pinot Noir. Her attorney persona, softened by genuine pride. Tomelanie. She announces, her voice carrying over the restaurant's gentle hum. Who didn't just earn her architecture degree. She fought for her future and won. My two closest friends, Jenna and Taylor, clink their glasses against mine. Their unwavering support carried me through those desperate nights when I questioned whether I'd make it to this moment. I never doubted you, Mom says, reaching across to squeeze my hand. Not for 1 second. The truth hangs unspoken between us. How different this celebration is from the elaborate parties my father would orchestrate. Events designed to showcase his generosity, rather than my accomplishments. Those gatherings were never about me. I have something to say, I announce, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. I raise my glass toward the circle of women who formed my safety net when everything collapsed. Without you, I might have given up. You didn't just help me recover what was taken. You showed me what real support looks like. The moisture in Mom's eyes catches the light as she smiles. Jenna leans forward, her architectural portfolio peeking from her bag. Speaking of real support, tell them about Westfield and Reed. I feel warmth spread across my cheeks. I accepted their offer yesterday. Junior designer. Starting next month. The table erupts in cheers, loud enough to draw glances from nearby diners, and I continue once the celebration quiets. I signed a lease on that apartment near the Commons. The one with the breakfast nook. Perfect for drafting. My mother's expression shifts subtly. Is it affordable? Every penny is mine. I assure her. My salary covers it comfortably. What I don't mention is how I've calculated the budget down to the dollar. Factoring in the garnished payments from Gregory's wages that have begun appearing in my account. The first one arrived yesterday. $1,000,000. 273. 62 with a cold transaction number where a father's love should be. Your turn. Mom. I say, deflecting attention. Tell them about your new place. She straightens. A quiet confidence. Replacing the exhaustion that once seemed permanent. Just a small apartment near Robertson's. But the windows face east. Morning sunshine. Her voice strengthens. And one job now? Just one. The divorce papers were finalized Tuesday. Aunt Alicia adds, lifting her glass again. To new beginnings for both Wilson women? Sunday morning arrives with gentle spring sunshine streaming through my windows. The phone rings and Mom's name lights up my screen. Just checking in, she says. Her voice carrying a lightness I'm still getting used to. Our conversation meanders comfortably until she falls quiet for a moment. I should have seen the signs years ago. Milani. Her voice drops to nearly a whisper. All those late nights, he claimed, were work meetings. He fooled us both. Mom. I interrupt gently. Remember when he convinced us he needed that new leather briefcase for client meetings, and we found it stuffed with candy wrappers in the garage 3 months later? She finishes, a small laugh escaping her. The sound of her laughter heals something in me I hadn't realized was still broken. Later, I walk through Boston Common. In my steps light despite the weight of everything behind me, students sprawl across the grass. Textbooks open to catch the spring sunshine. A young woman struggles ahead of me, arms wrapped around a stack of architecture textbooks that threatens to topple. I quicken my pace, catching a heavy volume as it slides from her grip. Structural Engineering Principles. I read from the cover. Smiling. Second year, she nods gratefully. These weigh a ton. Mind if I help? I'm headed this direction anyway. As we walk, I see myself in her determined expression. That evening, I seat at my small desk. In confirmation email, open on my laptop. My new savings account with its triple verification security measures stares back at me. I transfer my first deposit. Watching the numbers climb from 0, each digit representing security I've built for myself, my phone buzzes with a text. Gregory's name appears with the first line visible. Melanie. You need to reconsider this whole legal. I swipe it away without reading further, turning instead to the design sketches for my first professional project. He thought stealing my money would steal my future. Instead, his betrayal made me stronger.